Okay, we are on the record, and so I will go ahead and call to order the first quarter 2024 meeting on February 21st, 2024. This is the Interstate Commission for EMS Personnel Compact. And we will go ahead and start with roll call, and I will call on our secretary, Commissioner House.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So we'll just go through here real quick, hopefully. Commissioner Gray from Alabama. Commissioner Bateman from Colorado.
Present.
Commissioner Huss from Delaware.
Present.
Commissioner Johnson from Georgia.
Present.
Commissioner Denny from Idaho.
Present.
Mr. Chair, you are present.
Thank
Commissioner Vanderloon from Treasurer, as our treasurer from Iowa. My goodness, it's been a day, folks.
Present.
Thanks, Brad. Commissioner House is present, at least in body. Commissioner Bailey from Louisiana. Commissioner Wyndham from Mississippi. Commissioner Miller from Missouri.
Present.
And welcome. Commissioner Wilson from Nebraska. Commissioner Sullivan from Nevada.
Good afternoon, present.
Thank you. Commissioner Price from North Dakota.
Present.
Commissioner Martin from Pennsylvania.
Present.
And welcome. Commissioner Stewart from South Carolina.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Link from South Dakota. Commissioner Ward from Tennessee. Commissioner Schmieder from Texas.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Herrera from Utah.
Present.
Commissioner Crittenden from Virginia.
Present.
Welcome.
Thank
Commissioner
you.
Weller from West Virginia. And Commissioner Kaler from Wyoming.
Mr. Kaler is having some technical issues. I'm trying to help him sort out. So he's trying to get on.
Perfect. Mr. Chair, you do have a quorum.
Thank you. I will acknowledge we have a quorum and appreciate everyone being on here. I know it's a busy time of year. It's great to have everyone back together as a full commission as we continue to move forward with the EMS Compact. Appreciate everyone's time. I do want to take a second to acknowledge we have 3 new commissioners that have joined since our last meeting, and they are all 3 present. And traditionally, what we do is recognize them and also just give them a minute or so if they want to do an introduction for the group from their state. So we'll start off with Missouri and recognize Commissioner George Miller.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate being appointed to this committee, to this to the commission and rulemaking, and I will entertain any help that I can do for this group.
Thank you. We appreciate you joining. From Pennsylvania, we have Commissioner Anthony Martin.
Yes, good afternoon. It's an honor to be here, an honor to be appointed to this role, and very much look forward to continuing to work well with the compact, and be happy to support in any way that I can.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And the third member that we have new since the last meeting will be representing Virginia, and that's Kamala Crittenden.
Good afternoon, everybody. I just want to say I'm the administrative deputy for the Virginia Office of EMS, and I'm currently the acting director of the office since Gary Brown's retirement. I worked for Gary for the last 8 years, and I can say that in his long and storied career, one of his proudest moments and accomplishments with being part of this organization. And so I know I have huge shoes to fill, and I'm among some very talented EMS providers from across the country. And I, too, am very honored to be here for now and look forward to working with you guys.
Thank you. Thank you all three. And actually, thank you to every commissioner that took time to be here today. I do want to go over some meeting norms before we move on to the other business that we have at hand. We typically adopt these and they are on the agenda. We do encourage public attendance. We want transparency. And to that effect, commissioners are encouraged to have their cameras on if they have that opportunity. Microphones can be on. We will mute in the event that there is loud noise coming on or otherwise, and we authorize our executive director to enforce that. Members of the public are encouraged to speak at appropriate times, and I would ask that if commissioners or members of the public have comments, they use the raise hand feature. We had some challenges with Zoom, so we had switched to Teams to try that. If you are not familiar with that, then there is the top bar, you should have a raise hand feature. If you click that, then your hand will raise and that will send me a signal. To unraise it, should you decide you don't want to speak or you're finished speaking, you can click it again and that will lower your hand. And that is the easiest way for us to recognize you if you would like to make a comment. We do ask when you're called upon, you state your name and then who you're representing. We will limit comments to 2 minutes apiece. And again, if there's excessive noise, then we authorize our executive director to enforce and mute those individuals. So with that done, we will get back to the agenda. And with that, we want to make sure we adopt our business agenda. This was emailed out several times, including a copy that just went out a little bit ago that included the current copy of the minutes. And so is there any additional business agenda items that would like to be addressed? Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as published?
I'll make that a motion. Joe from Texas.
Thank you. Commissioner Schmieder from Texas, is there a second?
I'll second. This is Mark Herrera. Utah.
Commissioner Herrera with the second. Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor of adopting the agenda signify with a verbal aye.
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 Any opposed signify by saying nay. Okay, we will move on to public comments not on the agenda. So if you didn't have an agenda item, but something that you would like to comment on, then this is your opportunity. And I see our chairperson would like to comment. Excuse me, not our chairperson, our executive director.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Just for record keeping, for attendance, Commissioner Herrera from Utah is now in the meeting. If that wasn't heard, Commissioner Wyndham from Mississippi has joined, and Commissioner Kaler from Wyoming has also joined, and they've been promoted. And then I believe for the general public, you will need to put a chat in if you would like to be unmuted, and I can acknowledge you, or you can use your raise hand. Back to you, sir.
Okay, thank you. So we heard instructions there. Any comments? We'll start with commissioners. Any comments from commissioners related to compact business that you would like to state now that's not an agenda item? Okay, seeing none from commissioners. This is your opportunity to raise hand for members of the public or otherwise that are observing, or put in the chat if you wish to comment. Okay, we will move on to old business. The first item that we have is the consideration of the summary of the minutes that was prepared by our secretary was submitted in the most recent copy. That does include the commissioner roll call as well as the actual summary that was there. Are there any corrections or comments related to those proposed meeting minutes? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that a motion. Joe from Texas.
Thank you, Commissioner Sneeder. Is there a second?
I'll second. Aaron from Wyoming.
Thank you, Commissioner Kaler from Wyoming. Thank you. Is there any further question or discussion of that meeting summary minutes? All those in favor of adopting, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed to adopting of those minutes? Okay, we are ready to move on to new business, and we have some updates. We will start first of all with Commissioner Vandeloon, our treasurer, to give an update on our finances.
Our last quarter treasurer's report from last year, ending balance of Q3 was $83,316.25. Total debits were $41,752.63, with a credit of $40,000 in November, and our current balance is $81,563.62. Going to entertain any questions.
Any questions for Treasurer Vandeloon? Okay, we will leave that report standing and move on to the chair's report, which would be my report. I do want to report things are moving along very well. I want to commend our executive director, and he has done a good job of the advocacy that we've been looking for. And I will say he and I have partnered with some national organizations. I'm going to leave most of it to him to update you on the specifics, but we have reached out and had some productive discussions with our Office of EMS folks at DOT, U.S. Fire Administrators, several groups like that. And I appreciate Donnie's efforts on that. I did designate as chairperson, we have 2 work groups. We had sent out messaging. We have a code of conduct work group that is chaired by Commissioner Mike Johnson out of Georgia. And it does have membership in that with Mark Herrera, Brad Vandeloon, Tim Wilson, Scott Logan, and Lanier Swafford. And the last 2 are staffers out of the office. The other ones are the actual commissioners. And then privacy protections, unfortunately, right now we only have, and I shouldn't say we only, I may get corrected by our executive director during his report. To the best of my knowledge on the privacy protection, we only have the chairperson is Commissioner Mike Bateman out of Colorado. And then we do have out of the Georgia EMS office, then we have Deepti Patel. And so those work groups will be meeting to come up with some concepts to look at the papers that our executive director created that addressed code of conduct for the compact or just general EMS offices, and then also the need for privacy protections for EMS offices to look at that. And that's part of our outreaching advocacy that we're hoping to have. And so I think those are the exciting things. Other than that, our biggest committee, which we'll hear from today, will be the bylaws committee. And they have done an excellent job meeting. The members do a great job of putting in a lot of time and working with that chairperson to come up with some great information for us to consider. Those are the items that I have on my chairperson's report. And so I will recognize Donnie Woodyard for our executive director report.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I'll keep my report brief today and just go through a few highlights. The first is I want to commend the recent commissioners that have transitioned and their work to ensure a succession plan was in place. But I do want to use this as a moment to remind all of our commissioners on, we continue to see a relatively moderate attrition rate within state EMS offices. And I would just encourage you, if you are anticipating a transition or a change, please ensure that, if at all possible, you reach out and start coordinating with me as soon as possible so that we can work with your state to ensure a new commissioner is appointed so that there's no gap in representation for your state. And we do have those forms that are available. I can assist through the process. I can work with your governor's office to ensure that there's a very smooth transition. Certainly, I say that from the aspect that I hope that none of you transition, but we are looking between a 30 and 45% attrition rate is what it looks like right now. So if you do anticipate a transition, please don't forget to reach out to me early through that. Just a few updates. In addition, the executive committee approved the commission to signing on as a signatory in a letter of support for the SHARE Act. The SHARE Act is a piece of federal legislation, and the legislation was actually conceptualized and in part drafted by PWW, our council. And this is a piece of legislation that would impact multiple compacts, especially healthcare compacts and licensure compacts. And in reality, it probably impacts other compacts a little bit more than it impacts the EMS compact because of the way we're structured. But this would provide clarity, and if passed and signed into public law, it would direct the FBI to ensure that compacts have that direct access to the fingerprint, background, criminal information history, and the ability to access that. From the EMS Compact perspective, that is a requirement on the states. And as the Compact Commission, we are not directly pulling that information, but it is done through the states. But the EC did approve us to be a signatory to the letter of support, and that letter has been issued. I do have a copy of it. If anyone would like to have a copy for your own files, just reach out to me. Next is, I would encourage all commissioners to take a moment to look at your board book and the press releases. In particular, I will note that since the last full meeting of the commission, the commission has adopted a SIL, and that SIL, and I'm scrolling to it right now, that SIL has been fully incorporated, and there it is. So the SIL has been incorporated, and based on the SIL, we did procure some challenge coins. Maybe they're there, but it's the emblem. For those on the call, I would just do a quick reminder of the symbology that goes into the emblem. We have the red circle around, and that red circle is a reflection back to our origins within the Department of Homeland Security and the red outline in the Department of Homeland Security's logo. And just as in the Department of Homeland Security logo, that red outline symbolizes the red tape of bureaucracy. And in that DHS logo, it is fractured by eagle wings into areas, and that symbolizes that how DHS as at the time a new federal department was cutting through historic bureaucracy. We have in our red outline 24 hatch marks. Those 24 hatch marks are representative of the 24 states that was present when we adopted this symbol. And so each of those states has cut through the bureaucracy of red tape related to the interstate practice of EMS. We do have the forward moving arrow noting that we're moving forward. And then the 10 star of lives at the bottom represent the 10 initial states that was required for the compact to actually become an operationalized compact. So the SIL is out there, it is being used, and it's being fully incorporated. Next is just an update. I've been invited in the official capacity as the executive director to attend one of about 30 people at the Navy Postgraduate School's executive leadership program. And so this is a program for national leaders, and I've been accepted into the cohort that's starting next month. This will not detract from any of my day-to-day job and duties at the Compact, but it will be a year-long program with 4 in-person residencies at the Navy Postgraduate School in Monterey, California. And I will have my official hat on while I'm attending that. And then the final thing I'll update, and Mr. Chair alluded to this, but we continue to work with our federal colleagues, and we are continuing to explore interagency agreements as government-to-government funding, government-to-government partnerships, and collaborations. More on that to come, but we are continuing to make sure that as the governmental body for the interstate practice of EMS in the United States, that we are appropriately working with our partners on that. We've had an ongoing series of really good meetings, and that extends from the DHS, Fire Administration, Department of Transportation, the Interagency Fire Working Group, as we work with Wildland Fire, and then a number of components, everyone ranging from Border Patrol to other specialty components that provide EMS at the federal level. So we're continuing to work on that and make good progress there. So, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to stand for any questions, but in the interest of time, I will yield back to you.
Thank you for the report. Again, thank you for what you're doing. I would add real quick before I take any questions, I would note Donnie's strong performance with also making sure we have active commissioners. I do think the states have been vital. We're passing along. This isn't just a optional committee. Once you're a member state, there is a duty to have someone actively involved. And I would note, despite a lot of recent turnover, we only had 1 vacancy right now, and that is Oklahoma. And we have requested some action from them. And I think Donnie has done a great job of facilitating that. Any questions for our executive director? Yes, Commissioner Sneeder.
Yeah, Donnie, you kind of glossed over the postnatal graduate course. That's a big deal, and we should be honored that you've been selected for this. Obviously, I know you are honored for that. The relationships that you will gain there will only benefit the Compact and the Commission. So thank you for putting the energy into doing that.
Thank you, sir.
Agreed. Any other questions, comments related to the executive director report? Okay, I think we are now ready for our partner, National Registry of EMT, as they are facilitating the National EMS Coordinated Database. And so I will recognize Ray Mullers for a report there.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ray Mullers with the National Registry of EMTs, and as the administrator for the National EMS Coordinated Database, or as we refer to as NEMSCID. We've started since the last full commission meeting, submitting a monthly report to the executive committee, and that is being presented to you here today. And I'll just very briefly orient you to the report. On the left side, the state EMS statistics are really giving a date of last submission of data to the coordinated database, and this report was provided to the executive committee for their February meeting, so it was earlier in the month. I can report as of today, all of the states reporting have, all but 2 have submitted data as early as today. There's a couple states that have a day or so lag time. So, and then as you go across the top, that's just a screenshot from the emscompact.gov as to how many states, how many providers. That estimate will probably go up as we connect more to the database. Below that, there's a graph with 9 states. Really, only 8 aren't connected at this time. The one on the right, Nevada, they're our first state that has 2 data sources, with Southern Nevada Health District providing data. Luckily, they're with the same vendor, so it makes it a little easier. They should be the next one fully submitting. We're just working out some settings in the coordinated database to have them turned on. I believe either Nebraska or probably Pennsylvania, both are working diligently to get turned on. So those 2 could be next. I think North Dakota probably will be sometime after April 1st. They're still going through an upgrade to their license management system. As you go down the discipline posting, it's really capturing most recent discipline posted date and how many cases in the last 4 months. Texas, Colorado, and Louisiana remain our top 3 states that are posting discipline in the coordinated database. On the bottom, you see a couple of spreadsheet screen captures. On the left-hand side, there's some enhancements that have been requested as the IT team at the National Registry can work them into their work load. We hope to change the EMS ID as a primary identifier, eliminating Social Security's requirement in the transmission to the coordinated database, provided they have that EMS ID. Otherwise, Social would be the primary identifier. There's a data section in the coordinated database with National Registry data. We're in hopes of turning that on. And then we're also seeking a software solution. So those states that do not have an API capability, that we can solve that with some middleware or something to provide that service until they're able to in the future. On the bottom right, we've had some bugs in the system where EMS ID numbers were double issued. We're pretty close to all of that being cleaned up. And then one thing that's not on this, we've worked with a couple states on some issues with where a state utilizes a specific license number through the life of the provider. In other words, they may start off as a EMR, EMT, or whatever. When they raise level, they maintain that same license number. We've had some issues on settings and how that data is reported to the coordinated database. So we're working through some of those solutions, and brings me to the last thing on my list. The second Thursday of every month, we're setting up a reoccurring, we're calling it a working group for the coordinated database. And it's meant for the executive director and the staff from the registry to invite in those that work the database in their state, and to discuss or report to us any issues that they're having, and hoping that that could lead to development of some training documents or information that we can put out to everyone. So barring any questions, that's all I have, Mr. Chair. Back to you.
Thank you. Director Woodyard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just like to take the opportunity to gently remind all commissioners the importance of making sure you are entering discipline cases into the coordinated database by both statute and administrative rule. Anytime a member state takes a discipline action, which would include but not be limited to revocation, probation, sanctions, limitations on any EMS practitioner, you're required to report that into the coordinated database. Your licensure system will only report the high-level status. So it will only report the license status. That does not meet the requirement of the regulation. It actually requires a discipline report to be entered. So if your state is having discipline and you're not reporting that, please reach out. I will do training sessions with you, technical sessions with you and your staff to ensure that you understand how to do that. It's a pretty straightforward process. It follows the Department of Health and Human Services MPDB requirements, but I will make sure that you're in compliance with that. So just want to make sure we offer that technical assistance. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ray, for your report. And thank you, Donnie, for your addition. Any questions for Ray about the NMSCA database? Okay, I think as Donnie scrolled down, we are now to the administrative rules portion. And so with this, a little bit of background, and then I will call on Commissioner Schmieder. First of all, our rulemaking is governed by both statutory authority that was adopted by each state, but also there is a rule, and they are both Section 12 of the statute and then also Rule 12 of the rules cover our rulemaking. And so we have certain notice qualifications and items such as whether we are required to have a hearing depends on whether certain circumstances have been met. And so with that, I may ask some clarifying questions because I doubt if most commissioners have reviewed that. I did today before the meeting, and I know our council's always aware as well. I will go ahead and call on Commissioner Schmieder as the chair of the Bylaws and Rules Committee to present our rulemaking for consideration today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is my honor to be here today to present a set of rules that we've been working on. So I guess the first step in this process would be, I don't know that we really do need a formal hearing, as I know it's optional, and I would just make a motion that we dispense with the hearing and that we move right into the adoption and open it up for public comment at that time. So I'll make that a motion.
A motion from Commissioner Schmieder. Is there a second?
This is Mark from Herrera. I'll second.
Commissioner Herrera with the second. So we have a motion and a second. I will go ahead and comment. I did research a little bit on this. We are not required to have a public hearing, and council has confirmed that. We did schedule a potential hearing today, and according to our requirements, individuals that wish to comment should do so 5 days in advance. And so I will turn to our executive director. What comments, if any, have we received within the period?
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Chair. So we had the public link that's been available since early December for public comment that's been distributed both on our website and through our mailing list to over 600 people on the mailing list. And as of 1 hour ago, we had no valid public comments. I will note that we had 2 what I categorize as gibberish comments, and by gibberish, there were no English words that were in there. It was random characters in one of them, and then the other one included simply an email address as the public comment with no other context. So I would say that we have no valid comments on the rules received, and I've not received any by email or post as well.
Has anyone requested to speak at the public hearing as well?
And we have no request to speak.
So I don't believe there is a requirement. So we have a motion on the floor. I'll recognize one of our council. Christy, would you like to comment?
Yes, I just want to clarify that there was not just no comments or anyone else that said anything, but were there any written notices of intent to attend this public hearing?
Thank you for that. There were no written notices of intent to attend. We did have 25 registered guests to attend the meeting. And of those 25, we have 9 that have joined, but none of them noted that they wish to speak.
Great, because that's the actual wording in the model compact on when you can not have a public hearing, is having not received any written notices of intent to attend.
I would also note, without doing the formality of a hearing does not mean that when we consider that I cannot recognize comments from commissioners and then comments from the public. So I don't want anyone to feel that this precludes any comments in our consideration. Any further comment or discussion on the motion to forego a public hearing in this matter? Okay, I will go ahead and call the issue. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Kansas, other people.
Anyone against the motion, please signify by saying nay. And anyone that is abstaining from the motion, please identify. Okay, we will note that motion is granted. Back to you, Commissioner Schmieder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And then I'm going to turn it over to Donnie, do a quick summation of the proposed changes, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. So a quick summary of the changes. I'll just scroll through. In front of you is the red line version. The very first thing you will note in the red line version is that section 10 has been in its entirety redlined. And the reason for that is that section 10 in the original administrative rules was referring to the coordinated database. This entire section is moved into the subsequent section. So no changes to the text, it's just moved and you'll see them pasted back in. The new section 10 is titled the Commission. The purpose of this is to align the administrative rule section by section with the legislation section by section. So section 10 of the legislation talks about the Commission. So, and in this section, it goes through the process of a review for new states and new state laws that desire to join the compact. And the brief summary of this is that by virtue of interstate compact legislation, interstate compacts are a unique element of law where it is both a law and a contractual agreement between states. And just as within any contractual agreement, all parties must agree to the same terms. So this new section in administrative rule clarifies that if a state changes their law or if a state adopts the new legislation, that the Commission as a whole will review that legislation or the change in the state legislation to ensure that the terms of the contractual agreement are uniformly adopted amongst the member states. And this section also provides a remedy if a conflict is identified. So that is the summary of this process. It outlines a detail of the process, remedies for that, and the actions that will be taken. I will note this is standard amongst virtually all interstate compacts, not just healthcare compacts. This is a standard provision. This has been reviewed in public, it's been reviewed in education sessions, it's been reviewed by council. The next section is section 11. The key changes in section 11 include a renumbering and the pasting of the former section 10. There are no changes to the content. There are no changes to the requirement. So this is renumbering and a move of the previous section 10 here. So as you see on the screen, the renumbering that is there. Okay, section 12 is unchanged. Section 13. Section 13 was previously not used, and this new section is compliance and dispute resolution process. This again aligns with section 13 of the legislation, which is dealing with the same issue. This is a new issue. So after a state becomes party to the compact, this provides a remedy if a state, not an individual, but if a state falls out of compliance with the legislation and or the administrative rules. I will note that the priority of this section is to ensure that it's a progressive approach. The first approach will be technical assistance, but then it does escalate. It does prioritize things like mitigation and arbitration. And if those are not successful, it provides a further path for escalation. It also provides a mechanism for the commission as a whole to take further disciplinary action. With that being said, this is very important to ensure that all parties of the contract agreement are agreeing to and fulfilling the terms of that arrangement so that the integrity of the interstate compact is maintained. I'll also note that it's important for us to get this into place well in advance of any anticipated issues. I know of no issues right now. We have a number of states that are still onboarding. That is understood and known. At the moment, we do have some timelines, though, that will come clear in 2025 that will be important for all states to make sure they are aware of. The other thing I will note on this as you read it is that there does provide an opportunity for states to submit a plan of correction. So the goal is to ensure that everyone is in compliance and participating, and certainly a plan of correction. We understand sometimes it might take months for a state to remedy an issue. That's built into this process. What the commission would request is a plan of correction so that we can make sure that the progress is being made. The final change is in section 14. These two dates have been minuted and voted on by motion by the commission as a whole. This is just inserting those dates into the administrative rule to make sure that it is both aligned with the model legislation and that it's easily found. And the first is the implementation date. The implementation date is defined in the model legislation, and that is when 10 member states joined the compact. That's when it became implemented. That is a term of law for the compact of the date. The next is the activation date. There was a period of time between when the compact became official, with 10 states, yet it couldn't be fully activated because, you know, we needed administrative rules, we needed staff, we needed a database, we needed states on board. And so the activation date was when the compact became active. That was March 15th, 2020. The activation date triggered a 5-year timeline for FBI compliant biometric criminal history checks to be implemented by the states. So the compact gave a 5-year timeline for states to implement that. That clock will then expire on March 15th, 2025. And so that's the grace period for all states to get into compliance with that. With that, Commissioner Schmieder, I yield back to you for any clarifications or additions.
Donnie, thank you for that summary of the changes proposed. Mr. Chairman, I guess at this time I'll make a motion to adopt these rules and second, and then we can have open discussion.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Schmieder to adopt the rules as proposed. Is there a second?
I will second. Commissioner Kaler from Wyoming.
Mr. Kaler with the second. Okay, at this point, I think we can have discussion. I have a few preliminary questions. I just want to make sure as I'm looking at the rulemaking, I would note, first of all, Commissioner Schmieder, you guys did use a meeting opportunity as an educational session for members. Is that correct?
That is correct. We had that meeting on the 31st of January. And I'm going to say between public and commissioners, there was probably about 20-25 people. My memory right, Donnie, on that one? It's somewhere around there that was, and we went over all this more in detail at that time.
Okay. For our executive director, these were distributed multiple times to the actual commissioners, correct?
Correct.
And we did put notice on the website, and it has been on our website for at least 60 days.
Correct.
Okay, I am open to any further comments, Commissioner Schmieder, on your motion.
I have no more comments. I'll take any questions or whatever.
Okay, we will open the floor. This is your opportunity for discussion, comments, or questions if you want to use the raise hand feature. I know we have discussed this while. This is an important rulemaking that we have been wanting, but I want to make sure that we address any concerns that anyone has on this. So any questions or comments, please use the raise hand feature, and I'll give a minute to see if there are any. Okay, I will go ahead and call the vote, and I'm going to go ahead and ask for a roll call vote. Commissioner House, if you are ready as secretary, can we go ahead and do a roll call since this is a rulemaking? So I want to make sure we have a clear record.
Yeah, you might hear a little bit of talking in the background. I'm actually monitoring a legislative session at the same time, so
okay.
We'll go through here. If you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
All
right, Commissioner Bateman.
Legalizing marijuana was a citizen initiative in the municipal setting.
Apologies, I was searching for my microphone.
fine for
I vote aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Huss.
I vote yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson from Georgia.
Yes.
Commissioner Denny from Idaho.
Yes.
Commissioner Kenny from Indiana.
Yes.
Commissioner Vanderloon from Iowa.
Yes.
Commissioner House votes yes. Commissioner Bailey from Louisiana. Commissioner Wyndham from Mississippi.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Commissioner Miller from Missouri. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson from Nebraska. Commissioner Sullivan from Nevada.
Yes.
Commissioner Price from North Dakota.
Yes.
Commissioner Martin from Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart from South Carolina.
Yes.
Commissioner Link from South Dakota. Commissioner Ward from Tennessee. Commissioner Schmieder from Texas.
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Herrera from Utah.
Yes.
Commissioner Crittenden from Virginia.
Yes.
Commissioner Weller from West Virginia. Commissioner Kaler from Wyoming.
Yes.
Your Commissioner Wyoming from Kaler today. And then Commissioner Gray from Alabama. All right. Mr. Chair, it does pass without dissent.
Thank you. So we have approved adoption of the rules as proposed. Thank you for the hard work. The Bylaws Committee, I know they did a lot of research, a lot of legwork between the executive director and that committee. Very positive work and look forward to implementation. A lot of this is, as indicated by the overview, is kind of preventative for future concerns, more so than correcting a current problem, but they are rules that are needed. So thank you very much. Anything
Mr.
additional,
Chairman,
Commissioner Schmieder?
If I could also just put a big thank you out to our executive director and to our legal counsel. They really supported the bylaws committee through this whole process. So thank you on behalf of the bylaws committee.
Thank you. And thank you to both them. Yes, our counsel's indispensable. They always provide solid advice, are very engaged, and we appreciate their service. And of course, we appreciate our executive director. That completes the administrative rules part. And so we are ready for federal partners update. I do see, and I hate to put on the spot, I do see Clary Mole from, sorry, I'll recognize our executive director. Maybe he has more information.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I don't have any of our federal partners that's requested to speak. And I know that we have some on, but I know that some had some conflicts with scheduling today. So perhaps if any, and I've unmuted their mics, if they want to speak, they can unmute and they have control of that.
So if any of, I would add both this and our professional organizations update. If anyone would like to give an update, then please use the raise hand features and I can recognize you if you'd like to give a quick update. And that could include any commissioners that have any further comments that we have not had as well. Your final chance before we adjourn. Okay. I'm not seeing any comments, so we this may be one of our shorter and important meeting, but we actually finished it in under an hour. So appreciate everyone's effort. I do want to recognize, as always, our executive director by having the actual board book is very helpful. So that way we can tell where we are. And I'm chuckling because that's what I was looking for. Thank you, was our future dates. And so we will be back. We do intend to meet in person in conjunction with the NASIMSO annual meeting. So we hope people will be there. We are going to have space. It will be a hybrid meeting, but if you are in person at the NASIMSO annual meeting, we'd love to have you there May 14th. And so please plan to attend. In the fall, we will have our virtual meeting on October 9th, and that will have elections for chairperson, treasurer, and then commission at large. And so that's our timelines for our regular full commission. If you are a commissioner, the executive committee is comprised of the chairperson, the vice chairperson, who I appreciate the three of us, the executive director, the vice chair, Wayne Denny, and myself meet on a regular weekly basis, and we discuss the issues of the compact from a high level, and I appreciate their support. rounding out the executive committee, then we have our secretary, Commissioner Joe House, and our treasurer, DeLune. And so then the final one would be Commissioner Wyoming, Commissioner Kaler. And so that is, and then we have the past immediate chair, which functions in that role as Commissioner Schmieder. So that's your executive committee. You are invited. We have those monthly meetings. We do send out announcements. You are encouraged to participate in those meetings. We do take comments from the floor, and I always recognize while that's the executive committee, we do want to hear from the commissioners, and we have a fair number of you that participate. Always pleased to see people on there. I will go ahead and call this meeting to a wrap. I appreciate everyone taking the time. Appreciate all the work on the commission. We are headed in the right direction. Appreciate our executive director and his leadership. So I will go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everyone.